Good afternoon, everyone. I think we'll start now. And welcome to the IFCCI MarCom Committee webinar on generative AI. We are very excited because MarCom is a committee which is quite different from other committees. So firstly, let me give you an introduction of key committees. I'm sure you all know about IFCCI. We are one of the most active bilateral chambers of India. In terms of committees, we have 17 committees across sectors and functions, and MarCom is one of our functional committee, and we meet about this committee was actually curated last year only, so it's the newest committee that we have, and we have about 50 to 60 CMOs and marketing heads and leaders who are a part of this group. So we are very excited to really work on this very engaging session, which is going to be led by Mr. Amaresh Godbole, who's the CEO of Digital Technology Business, Publicis Groupe, and he has had a very rich career. He's ex-Google. He has really been a CEO for a lot of organizations in the past. So I'll let him take the floor. And I would also like to welcome you. And before we start, may I please also request all of you to be on mute. And if you have any questions in the course of the presentation, then please put them on the chat box and we'll take it as it comes. I also want to acknowledge the presence of Ms. Nikita Rusigi, who's the Vice Chair of the committee, Regional Director, SON Degrees. Welcome to all of you, and over to you, Amaresh.
Thanks so much for the introduction, Rishika. Just give me a second to bring up my presentation.
Sure.
Are you able to see this?
Yes.
Great. So thanks everyone for joining. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. And just for your information, since this is the Indo-French Commerce Chamber, Publicis Groupe is also a French company headquartered in Paris. Our offices are on Champs-Élysées over there. So very excited to talk to this forum. So today we're going to talk a little bit about generative AI and specifically with the lens of marketing. This is something that we as a group have been working on for a long time. Publicis Groupe first embraced AI, not generative AI, in 2017, where we launched a global partnership with Microsoft and launched our own internal AI tool called Marcel to connect the whole organization. And obviously in the last year and a half, tremendous developments have happened on the generative AI front. And hopefully this session helps shed some light on how we as marketers can think about it. You've already been introduced to me, so I won't spend time over here. So just to start off with, when we think of any new technology, right, there's a typical journey that it goes through, which is, there's a trigger, there's a, hype cycle and expectations peak. Then there's a whole true of disillusionment and so on. And finally, there's, maturity that happens. So I think Gen AI is probably at the peak of its hype cycle right now. But we believe that it is fundamentally different from a lot of other technologies like blockchain and so on, which kind of fizzled out and are now finding some level of maturity. So why this is different, right? I think we need to think of generative AI differently from other technologies and tools because it's not a tool. For the first time, we have a technology that is an agent. So when I say an agent, it means that it can make its own decisions, right? Based on a broad framework that's been provided to it. So therefore, if you look back at the industrial age, that was a time when we augmented our limbs, really, right? We came up with machines that could lift heavier, push harder, and so on and so forth. Then the age that all of us have lived through, which is the information age, we augmented our knowledge. So you had, YouTube and Google and, Google Maps and all these things, which put the knowledge of the world at your fingertips. You didn't really need to memorize anything anymore. You knew how to get to a location at a go. You had your entire social network through all the meta platforms at your fingertips. What we are now entering is actually potentially a new age, which we like to call the age of intelligence. We actually, for the first time, have a tool that augments our own intelligence, our way of thinking. And this is fundamentally different from anything that any other technology could allow us to do before this. So we are already seeing some insane possibilities, right? Never imagined possibilities, some of which scare us. So I don't know if you've been following a lot of generative AI news. If you're interested, I highly recommend following the AI page on Instagram. They keep posting the latest trends of what's happening. I just picked a few interesting headlines that I saw. So, for instance, generative AI can actually turn Wi-Fi routers into cameras. So, based on how the Wi-Fi signals are bouncing off, generative AI is able to see the shape of human beings without actually being present there with the camera. There are AI companies that are decoding dream patterns and being able to create visuals out of it. There are companies that are able to incept dreams as well. So all of this is, it would have seemed like Black Mirror stuff a few years back is happening for real. And recently there was a, entire scam where a Hong Kong CFO got a deep fake video call from his CEO asking to transfer $25 million. Obviously he did it, and then it turns out that it was actually a deep fake scam. I'm sure many of you have already, experienced things where people are cloning voices and making emergency calls and asking for transfers of payments. So that's the dark side of it. But as marketers, I believe if we harness it properly, it's a net positive for us. And we can't really control the negatives of it. That's for policy and regulation. So there are ethical, social dilemmas around appropriation, alignment, misinformation, redundancies. Um, there are people who are against it. There are people who are for it. I don't know. Last year when Gen AI first came out, if you saw this image of the Pope, and everyone was sharing it, saying that Pope is looking drip and so on. Turns out it was entirely made out of generative AI. He never actually wore this outfit. Um, so the point is, whether you like it or not, the genie is out of the bottle. What it takes for any technology to succeed is investors, users, and developers. And generative AI has the flywheel for all three of these going on. If you look at the numbers, so there's no stopping it. So the best we can do is figure out how to use it positively. So our group perspective on AI, and when I say AI, it's a broader territory than just generative AI, is not a hype machine. We think it's actually a growth accelerator, and that's our belief over here. So let's start with AI for marketing now that we've spoken about the helicopter view of it. So let's start with the basics. There are a lot of terms that get thrown around, right? So I just wanted to first put a little bibliography here so that everyone's on the same page. So AGI is not yet achieved. That's basically artificial general intelligence, which a lot of people believe is going to happen in the next 2 to 5 years, where the machine is basically sentient almost, right? AI is artificial intelligence. ML is machine learning. DL is deep learning. LLMs are large language models. GPTs are generative pre-trained transformers, and diffusion models are the ones that we use to generate images, videos, etc. So a quick slide on how they correlate with each other. So AI is a broader space. Most of AI requires machine learning to be able to come up with anything which is achieved through neural networks and so on. Deep learning is the territory in which you've got generative AI, large language models, and diffusion models, and so on and so forth. So what we believe, and this is already happening, I mean, in our organization, it's happening in a big way, is that AI is going to change both how we work and the nature of the work that we create as marketers and communicators. So I'll touch on both of these aspects of it. So starting with how we work, I want to show you an example from our organization. So when you think about media planning and data analysis, traditionally it's been, the valued skill was being an Excel jockey, right? Being able to crunch numbers and, extract insights out of it. What we've done over the last couple of years is for some of our largest clients, we've actually created a tool where all the different media channels and data sources come into that tool, and there's one view to your entire media planning effort. And over the last year, we've hooked up a GPT model to it, which then allows us to conversationally get insights, get the best media plans, and so on. So I'll just play the video for you. When I play it, just confirm that the sound is running so that all the videos won't be an issue. The sound is running, right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great. what a tool like this does is actually fundamentally change the composition of skills that are now valued, right? So more than someone who's great at, crunching Excel sheets and drawing data out of it, an analytical mindset becomes more important. Asking the right questions becomes more important because you don't even need to know how to use Excel, but you could still come up with an amazing analysis if you ask the right questions conversationally. Creative and production is going to be deeply impacted as well. So I'll play a couple of videos to give you a sense of, the kind of developments that are happening on the generative AI front. So this is Sora.
So I used to think that artificial intelligence was just one of those words that people threw around to get investors excited about putting their money in the stock market. And I thought that it would never happen in my lifetime, but I think I'm wrong. If you haven't heard about OpenAI's Sora, it's about to blow your mind and probably change the world forever in ways that I don't think people fully understand yet. You type in some text of what you want and it creates videos, and it does that at such a high level of realism that it shouldn't even be possible. Here are just some of the examples of what it can do right now. Here's a stylish woman down a Tokyo street filled with warm glowing neon and animated city signage. She wears a black leather jacket, a long red dress, and black boots, and carries a black purse. That was a 1 minute long video that Sora created with just a couple words in that prompt. Now, I added the music and the sound effects because right now it can't do that and it can't sync with video, but I imagine it will soon. But it's doing that with such a level of realism that it shouldn't be possible without physically traveling to Tokyo and shooting on a low-light full-frame sensor camera like the A7S III in 4K at 120 frames per second. And it's creating a shot that has never existed before in human history, and all it took was just a couple words on a keyboard. It gets crazier though. Here's a movie trailer featuring the adventures of the 30-year-old spaceman wearing a red wool knitted motorcycle helmet, blue sky, salt desert, cinematic style shot on 35mm film with vivid colors. That straight up looks like a scene from a J.J. Abrams movie, except with a lot less lens flares. Hold on. There, I fixed it. It gets even better because it can take a simple photo as an input and reimagine it into a video that looks like this. This is absolutely insane. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of what it can do. Let me show you how this technology is about to change all our lives and the global economy forever. Let's get into it. Hi, my name is Andre Jick. Hope you're doing well. Come for the finance.
So I'm not going to play more of it, but it gives you a sense of the power of what it can create, right? You're creating video content out of nothing. And what that means is, as creative teams, as production teams, we need to plan for having a mix of AI workflows in the way we envision scripts, in the way we envision video production going forward once these tools mature, and they're not far from maturity. I'm sure you would have heard of Midjourney, which creates images out of nothing. A quick look at it.
It is March 16th, 2023, and you're watching the Code Report. Well, hello, my fellow prompters. Yesterday, Midjourney released its version 5 model in alpha, and the AI images it can produce are shockingly realistic. Like the guy with the shocked face that got you to click on this video is 100% artificial. As a programmer and content creator who recently lost his job to AI, I've been looking for a new line of work. My initial thought was to get into modeling because my mom says I'm extremely good looking. Unfortunately, I found out that models are now obsolete. It's now possible to generate them in all shapes and sizes, and you'll never know the difference unless you look really closely at the fingers. There are many different companies and projects competing to be the best generative image model in 2023. Stable Diffusion is the leading open source project. Then you have tons of closed source projects like DALL-E from OpenAI and countless others trying to monetize this space.
So I'm going to stop that video there, but what I'm showing you here is my own Midjourney gallery. And this is actually from 6 months back. It's evolved a lot from then to now, but with very simple, basic one-line prompts, I've been able to create these kind of things. So for example, if you see this shoot, where there's an old man standing near the gateway of India, all I prompted was a hyper-realistic black and white image of an old man standing in the rain, staring at the gateway of India. And it gave me all these myriad options, right? So it's that easy. You don't need a professional. You don't need someone to, you can just go and generate images on your own. And as of now, we've not yet been using images for production ready work, except, testing it on emailers and stuff. But we do use it for a lot of spec work now with our clients and so on. Runway is another tool for generating video, but it's also a very powerful tool for video editing conversationally. And Runway is fairly mature right now. So we're actually working on seeing how to integrate Runway in our production processes.
This is a box. A magical box. This box can make any idea real.
So this is what the runway dashboard looks like, and all the things that you can think of from a video editing perspective, all those functions exist, and all you need to do is conversationally tell it what to do. So extremely powerful and game changing. It's going to up productivity in terms of video production significantly. And again, that point about the emphasis will shift from craft to having the clear vision of what you're really trying to achieve, and then therefore asking it for that. Even when it comes to voiceovers and music, the game is changing.
You might notice that I sound like Kanye West. No, Yeezy didn't record a voiceover for me for this video. I didn't learn how to do impressions. This is AI.
So let me come back to my original voice for a second because this is crazy. Today on Metaverse, I posted AI Kanye covering popular song. Here's an example of him singing Day and Night.
Whoa, I toss and turn, I keep stressing my mind.
So that's clearly crazy. And I started thinking, what are the implications of this for the music industry? Now all you have to do is record reference vocals and replace it with a trained model of any musician you like, which is exactly what I did. I found this Kanye style beat on YouTube. I wrote 8 bars and I'm gonna record them now. And then I'm gonna have AI Kanye replace me. I got a fantasy that's beautiful, that's dark and twisted, but I attacked the whole religion all because of my ignorance. What was I thinking? That was some bitch shit. I lost Adidas, but I'm still Yeezy. Back in the kitchen, man, I'm a genius. Boys in the hood, just like I'm easy. Kanye, Wheezy, Southside of Chicago, life ain't easy. All praise be to Lord Jesus, Donda, please rest easy. All right, let me cut it there. So let's hear those vocals I just recorded now with Kanye over them.
I got a fantasy that's beautiful, that's dark and twisted, but I attacked the whole religion all because of my ignorance. What was I thinking? That was some bitch shit. I lost Adidas, but I'm still Yeezy. Back in the kitchen, man, I'm a genius. Boys in the hood, just like I'm easy. Kanye, Wheezy, Southside of Chicago, life ain't easy. All praise be to Lord Jesus, Donda, please rest easy. All right, let me cut it there.
Yo, that new Yeezy track goes hard.
So you see how powerful this is. And I mean, some of the forward-looking musicians have already picked up on it. So Grimes, for example, the moment this technology came out, launched a smart contract saying anyone can use her voice, and she just has to get 50% of the royalties. As this matures and a lot of companies sign on digital likenesses and voice likenesses contracts, you can imagine a scenario where there's, the way you have Getty images for stock images, you'll have a site where a lot of artist voices are available. And tomorrow you could use Morgan Freeman to narrate your kid's birthday video, for example, right? So that's the future we're getting into. So everything that we've seen so far in terms of changing how we work, there is a big emphasis and a shift from craft to vision, imagination, reasoning, and critical thinking. That's what's going to be important because all these tools are basically democratizing the craft of producing something. You don't need to spend years learning Photoshop or Final Cut Pro or whatever, coding and data analysis and Python and all those skills to be able to do things that you needed to earlier. This is a quick snapshot of the different tasks that we do in our world, which is writing, image generation, video generation, audio, 3D coding, and some of the tools. And this changes because, it's a race out there. So from the time I first put this chart also, it's changed quite a bit in terms of which tools are running ahead of each other. But there will be winners and losers, and eventually you'll have, in each category, probably a couple of tools which are the best in class. Now, in terms of the readiness, right? So if you look at LLMs and voice cloning, it is production ready. And I will show you a case of voice cloning that we've taken at scale when we get to the next section. Text to image is more or less there, but I think it's one step away from, safely deploying in production. But I think we're months away from it, not even years. And video manipulation, autonomous agents, those are areas that we are still experimenting with. But yeah, I mean, this keeps changing very quickly. And video outputs, for example, from the time these slides were written and Sora came out, it's improved significantly. And I believe Sora is going to launch commercially this year, next year, if I'm not mistaken, in 2025. So how we are looking at it internally is we've launched something called Core AI globally. Our global CEO launched it. There's a 1-hour video explaining what it does. But we are bringing all these tools together as APIs so that our teams can work on everything from insight, media, creative software, and operations through one interface, pulling in all the tools. So I'm just going to show you a quick live demo over here now of, so I'm not going to get into any of the fancy tools. I'm sure all of you use ChatGPT, right? But a very simple thing that, GPT does now is it can directly generate images from DALL-E. So I've kept a prompt ready over here. I don't know what it's going to generate, but what I've said is, please help me generate an image to depict the spirit of warm and cordial Indo-French relationships in terms of commerce and cultural exchange. The image should reflect the modern image of India and France with some traditional cultural elements. Imagine if you're doing a presentation tomorrow and you want a quick cover image. So let's see what GPT does. And there, it's already generated an image. Now I could prompt it to make it more photorealistic, but it's understood the brief, right? And it's instantly given me an image. If I use Midjourney to generate the same thing, I'll get even more photorealistic, images. But just wanted to show you the power that you have in your palms. If you have the Chat GPT application on your phone, on your way in the commute, you can generate all the images you need to. So, which now brings me to the next section. I've spoken about how generative AI is changing the workflows of everything that we do. It's also going to impact the nature of the work that we create. So what I've tried to do is look at a very simple marketing funnel, simple version of a marketing funnel here, where we look at tasks like brand building, which is awareness and consideration, commerce, which is conversion and transaction, and lifetime value, which is retention and growth of customers. And there are use cases for AI in all of these pieces. And here, when I say AI, I mean leveraging the APIs from something like an OpenAI, which runs ChatGPT, and building your own, ideas and experiences on top of it. And the three big applications that we've seen so far is creative personalization at scale like never before, intelligent interaction in terms of whether someone's interacting with your platform or customer service and so on, and the ability to transcend time and space in experiences. I'll bring each of these alive for you. So I'm going to start with a case that we did for Oreo. This was a Leoponet and Publicis Technology joint campaign, and it had some serious scale, which I'll talk about.
What would you say if a guy walked in for an interview without a shirt on?
Humor can get you out of anything.
He must have had on some really nice pants.
But either you have a funny bone or you don't. That's why this playful cookie decided to give this superpower to everyone. Presenting Say It with Oreo. We put alphabets on Oreos and made the cookies scannable. For you to find the funniest way out.
How do I ask my boss for a raise?
You always say we are like a family. So why not raise as well?
We got India's funny guy, Farhan Akhtar, to answer the questions. But he's too busy to answer everyone. To help him, we created an AI by scanning through all his movies to make it funny and witty just like him.
I love it!
How do I tell my roommate I lost his cat?
You know your cat is like a model, so it just cat walked away.
How do I tell my friend I crashed his car?
There is a good news and a bad news, and both are the same. The airbags work.
How do I tell my colleague I don't like their perfume?
Your perfume must be hitting the gym more than you do, because it's quite strong.
And then, India started talking about things that were still a taboo in our country.
How do I tell my aunt to stop fat shaming me?
Tell me, are you dumbbells? Because you seem obsessed with weights.
How do I tell my parents that I'm getting married again?
I always believed in love at first sight, until I realized that third time is the charm.
It's funny because it's true.
Millions of Oreos scanned. 1.6 million questions answered.
Very cool. It's quite impressive.
Don't worry. Say it with Oreo.
Wow, very nice. Super.
There's only one cookie with something in the middle that solves life's problems, and that's an Oreo.
So this particular campaign, from a generative AI perspective, it was a complex system that we built in the backend. Essentially, we trained a GPT model to write like Farhan Akhtar. So when a person sent a question, first it would write a written response the way Farhan Akhtar would write it. That response was sent to something called Resemble AI, where we had cloned Farhan Akhtar's voice. So as part of our contract, we signed his voice digital likeness, so that his voice was cloned. So the written text would go to Resemble AI. Resemble AI would generate it in his voice. And before that happened, there was something called Web Purify, which would check for profanities. And at the end, for moderation, there was just a yes/no button that our teams had kept as a safety measure. And we sent out 1.8 million voice notes from Farhan Akhtar to people, unique voice notes. Now, something like this was simply not possible before generative AI, which I mean even a year and a half, 2 years back, right? Because if you wanted to do this level of personalization, you'd need a writer's room full of hundreds of people who can write like Farhan Akhtar. Farhan Akhtar would have to record his voice 1.8 million times over. And that's the kind of personalization at scale that is suddenly possible now. Coming to the next one, intelligent interaction. So I'll show it to you in the context of a website. I think Myntra was first of the block. This is not our work. Myntra has done this, but they implemented a GPT model in their platform to help you make choices.
Myntra has implemented ChatGPT, an AI software, to assist customers in searching for products and trying out different styles. My Fashion GPT allows users to express their fashion needs in a natural language format and choose from over 2 million styles. The feature provides up to 6 ensemble options across multiple categories like dresses, footwear, accessories, and makeup. Users can seek fashion advice for various occasions, including the Indian Premier League, travel, weddings, and festivals. My Fashion refines its responses as users ask more questions, ensuring increasingly accurate fashion recommendations. The feature is accessible through the Myntra app's M-Explore button and the search bar, enhancing the overall fashion shopping experience.
So, I mean, chatbots have been around for a while on websites, but mostly they were terrible. Now, tomorrow when you're launching your platform, every platform can have a GPT model that is dedicated and trained on the content in that platform. And as users interact with it, it'll become more intelligent about what that user's preferences are. And this is fundamentally will change how we, imagine navigating web content, right? So you can get to a point where you don't need button-based navigation anymore. Once your GPT models are deployed and trained well enough on your web content, people will be able to navigate your website conversationally just with the context of what they're seeking. So that's one big application, and I think everyone who's thinking about modernizing their platforms right now, as a very basic brass tacks thing, should have a GPT model dedicated and implemented in their platforms. Lastly, the ability to transcend space and time, right? And there are a few ways to do this. So first, let me show you the new modern age avatars that are out there. So this is a company called HeyGen. What they're doing is they have created, I mean, just from a web camera or from doing an elaborate shoot, anyone can create a virtual avatar of themselves. And that avatar can be hooked up to a knowledge model like ChatGPT.
So you can see this is an avatar that I made in a studio. So it's one of our studio avatars that a lot of businesses create with us. And firstly, I'll just show you, we can have two modes here. You can either chat with it, and this is basically going to be a ChatGPT responding to whatever questions I ask it. So if I say, hey, Alec, how are you today? It's going to give us this classic ChatGPT response.
Hello. As an AI, I don't have feelings, but I'm here and ready to help you. How can I assist you today?
So you can see that.
So now imagine the power of this, right? You've got video avatars which are powered by knowledge models. So for example, this was an idea we shared with one of our clients, right? Saying that this was for a pet food brand. We were like, imagine having an avatar where the insight over here is that it's hard to get veterinarian care for small problems, right? If your cat is sneezing or your dog is puking, etc. So what if you had an avatar that the knowledge model is trained like a veterinarian, and you basically have a video avatar of one of the famous veterinarians, and that can become your first call vet. Now this is true for anything. Tomorrow, if you have Virat Kohli as a brand ambassador, you can have him greeting everyone who comes to your platform, or you could have him as your customer service agent, right? Because the knowledge model can be trained for anything. All you have to do is sign that contract with him for his digital likeness. So it's a pretty powerful concept and very doable, because there's been this big piece of news when GPT-4 first came out, where a lot of vets weren't able to diagnose a dog. And when all the medical data was input into GPT, it actually gave the right diagnosis, which cured the dog. I'm going to show you one piece of work for using synthetic video that we've done, which is pretty interesting.
There it is, 10, the score that we said made Olympic history. That was no phantom punch, and he's down and out.
British broadcasters never recorded this match. After independence, India's first glorious moment was winning the Cricket World Cup in 1983. The win made every Indian believe, even we can do it. And cricket became a religion in the country. India's 40 years of glory, legendary victories, World Cup wins, and unbeatable records would not have existed had it not been for that historic moment. But a BBC strike deprived India of a chance to witness it.
We've heard a lot about this match. We'd do anything to see it.
To show the power of 5G, India's leading telecom brand used data and tech to recreate this iconic game. All we had were 3 images, so we had to interview fans and players who were there that day.
The leg side boundary was shorter.
Kapil swapped to a mongoose pad.
Kapil hit the longest 6.
And most important among them was Kapil Dev himself. Over 1,000 data points helped us map each of those 175 runs. And using this historical data, we recreated this untold story with an Oscar-winning VFX studio, including a perfectly de-aged Kapil Dev. 220 people across 3 continents worked over 8 months to put together the same era, the same stadium and environment.
The confident shot. It touches the rim. That's going further. He's playing superbly. That's a magnificent strike. Flash to the boundary. Unbelievable. What a remarkable match this has been. World record score of 175.
We created a 5G immersive event hosted by Kapil's hologram to show.
So you get a match, iconic match and innings that was never captured. And that's the kind of stuff that you're able to build today. This is a campaign that we did in, I think this was somewhere in Southeast Asia, Vietnam, if I'm not mistaken.
Some brands have a special connection with specific holidays. In Vietnam, it's Kinh Do mooncakes with the Mid-Autumn Moon Festival, a family time centered around lanterns, mooncakes, and celebrations. In 2021, we used nostalgia to reignite cherished memories of the festival and carry those feelings forward to the next generation, because those stories should never fade, especially during a
continued
lockdown.
to surge there, forcing authorities to take more drastic measures.
This year, people could not feel the festivities at its fullest. Brand couldn't set up 75% of the brand's seasonal outlets in the streets, which symbolized the feel of the festival's coming. As a market leader, we wanted to retain the spirit of the festival in these trying times. Kinh Do presents Keep Stories Alive. In collaboration with DID, we created a website with deep learning AI technology where people could upload old mooncake photographs and seamlessly bring that moment in their childhood to life. For the first time ever, the live portrait technology was used to animate multiple faces simultaneously, lighten people's emotion like never before.
We worked really hard, developed our tech.
So another instance of being able to transcend time and space. And there are so many applications you can think of, right? Like tomorrow, if a brand, is into music and they want to recreate a Kurt Cobain festival, it's possible to do that. Tomorrow, if you want someone to come and have a conversation with a famous author from the past, you could train it on all that author's interviews, and it's possible to actually have a conversation with them. So it's pretty interesting what's possible. And coming to the end of my presentation, I'm going to leave you with one emerging piece of GenAI, which I think is very exciting going forward. It's basically using GenAI and neural radiance fields to generate 3D out of 2D, to put it simply, right? So imagine you go and look at what this person is doing, right? If you go and take photos from your phone, photos and images at multiple angles, and you feed it into this GenAI application, it's actually able to create drone footage out of it. So imagine, for example, if tomorrow you're an auto brand, right? And you want to give your, auto brands typically activate riding experiences and so on. You could have an application where your riders are able to convert their 2D footage into drone footage. So very, very exciting possibilities. And every day there's something new that comes out there that's changing how we and the work that we create. So with that, I think I've come to the end of it. This is what I had for you today. Happy to, just get off screen and actually have a discussion around this.
Great. Thank you so much, Amaresh. It was
an amazing session. It was truly engaging and filled with fascinating demonstrations. I think from here we like to begin the interactive Q&A session. We'll just take a few questions from the chat box. We have a lot of amazing comments. Everybody is really appreciating the demonstration that you showed. So the first
Sure.
question
Should we look at the chat box?
Yeah, we have the questions in the chat box. Will you like to take them?
Yeah, sure. I can. So the first
Yeah,
one
or
is.
I'll just read them for you one
Sure.
by one. Yeah, so the first question we have is, how do we map brand guideline requirement while creating content? Any example for this ask?
So this you mean when you say creating content, you mean visual content, I'm assuming, because the GPT content is much easier. You can just train it on that. So while I've shown you the publicly available tools, there are now companies like Bria and Lighttray and a couple of others who are using diffusion models which can be trained on brand identity. So the step one is you basically input the brand identity of your brand, and it learns from that, and then it starts creating brand, images that are on brand and brand safe as well. So, which is why I said we're one step away from being production ready for image technology, but it's happening as we speak. The other one obviously is Adobe Firefly, because Adobe knows this world very well, and Firefly also is now AI enabled. So that's another area where I think there's some exciting possibilities.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Then we have another question. This is someone working on different languages prompts for GPT?
Can you clarify? So you mean, can I prompt in Hindi? Can I prompt in Marathi?
For
Is that the
different
question?
languages, yes.
I mean, so someone as in, see, we can't touch the core system. OpenAI owns the core system for ChatGPT. But from what I understand, they've already factored in multiple languages. And GPT can already translate languages for you. So it'll pretty well understand the prompts as well, I would assume. I've not tried it myself.
Okay, great. Then someone is asking, do we have a costing for runway software that you showed?
Yeah, I mean, it's on the platform. I've got a personal account. A brand account might be a little more expensive, but it's not very expensive, honestly. For a brand to subscribe, it would be a few $1,000s a year at best.
Okay, great. We have Mr. Sunny who asks, what are the copyright implications of using AI-generated images and videos?
So if you look at, basically when you generate images, no one owns it really, right? So if you look at Midjourney's guidelines on this, what they're saying is any image you generate, there's no copyright infringement issue. The issue that people are right now grappling with is, do you even own the image? So someone else could copy your image. That's one of the things that's possible out there. But honestly, it's on a case by case basis. And so here internally, for example, we have an entire legal team globally dedicated to safe AI practices. So any AI campaign that we do gets run through them. They give us guidance. If there are artists involved, we sign digital likeness or voice likeness contracts so that we're not infringing on anyone's rights.
Yeah. Another interesting question, if Gen AI tools are the future, can it replace the content writer jobs?
Potentially. I think from time immemorial, we've always worried about technology replacing us, right? The way we are approaching it, and when we talk to our teams about it, is a lot of times we say that a lot of our work is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. I think Gen AI has the potential to flip it around, because it's basically, it still needs someone to give it the guidance and the vision and make sure that it's going in the right direction, right? So I don't think in the near future it'll completely replace teams. What it'll do is it'll increase the productivity of teams. So if I'm a creative director and or a writer, with this, I can create 10 times as much as I wanted to earlier, right? So instead of an efficiency game, we are looking at it as a productivity game, right? And with that productivity game, eventually, if two people have different visions, like it's not like, ChatGPT knows what you want, right? It depends on how well you guide it. So if I give a Ferrari to two different people, the better driver is going to be able to drive it much faster, right? It's as simple as that around a track.
Okay, great. So we have lots of questions coming in. In the interest of time, I think we'll just take two more. So we have Mr. Vijay asking, is it currently possible to develop an AI avatar that could function effectively as a corporate law advisor?
In theory, yes. So if you go to HeyGen, HeyGen can hook up to any knowledge model. So what that would involve is creating a HeyGen avatar, and you'll need someone to train you have to create a custom GPT agent, which is again easy to do. And that custom GPT agent will have to be trained on everything that a lawyer is trained on. And then it'll be able to actually answer questions like a corporate lawyer.
Okay, great. Okay, the last question, Mr. Ramesh asks, please suggest a course which can be recommended for our team members on AI. Any course
I'll
that you
come
can
back to you
suggest?
on this one because so we actually have a lot of trainings internally in our system. So I'll have to figure out which the best external trainings are. I'll come back to you on that.
Okay, great, great. Thank you so much, Amaresh.
Anuja, I think we should take one or two more questions because a lot of them are coming in, and we still have some.
Great,
Yeah,
great.
let's take
Okay,
some
I
more
think,
questions.
yeah, we'll take
Yeah.
2-3 more
Sure,
questions.
I'm happy to.
Yeah, we have lots of questions coming in. So Ms. Dipali, she asks, most Gen AI are blocked by businesses because of threat of breach of information. Any comments on that?
It's a brand safe way of doing this, right? So for example, all our AI systems, we don't work directly on a GPT the way I would do as an individual account. It's basically, if you work with Microsoft, for example, right? So they have on Microsoft Azure, they have basically data safe versions and instances of OpenAI. So OpenAI is pulled in through Azure, and there you have a lot of buttons and levers which you can dictate what data is available to the AI and what isn't. So I would highly recommend if you're looking at an enterprise deployment, you should talk to Microsoft. They will guide you in terms of how to do it in a brand safe, data safe manner.
Okay, great,
So
great.
this should be systemic. So I
Yeah.
understand that GPT models, like an individual GPT model should not be exposed to a company's data, but a company level GPT model through Azure can actually, be completely safe.
Yeah. Okay, so we have another question. We have any B2B product content creation case study that you can suggest? Any B2B content strategy?
Sorry, can you elaborate on this question?
I think they just want maybe to have a reference of some case study for the B2B marketing.
I mean,
So
I
I think
can't
the
think of.
examples, Amresh, sorry, you gave was more for B2C, but in our network, we have a lot of companies.
Ah, okay, got it. So I don't have any handy. I'll have to look. I'll have to hunt and I'll try and send one back. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. So somebody says, by the way, Amresh, are you for real or is the AI avatar speaking?
I've been tempted to create a Asian avatar. Maybe next time that's someone that will speak to you and you won't know the difference. Good one.
Great, great question. Okay. I think, okay, we have another one from Mr. Khanjan. He says, how to use AI for performance marketing, example, generating quality leads.
So, for example, so see, when you talk about performance marketing, actually Meta and Google already use AI. So, if you basically use their AI-enabled campaign, so which maybe USC and Google and Meta calls it something else, it already uses AI for optimization. So, what it does is you just feed it a set of images, brand safe images for your campaign and your cohort. And what it does is it creates millions of iterations to figure out what is the best content for the best audience. And I mean, that's how it works. And at a agency end, I already showed you iTitan, for example, which is our product to, then further optimize based on the performance. But basically use Meta and Google's AI-enabled campaigns. They're already very powerful.
Okay, great. So finally, one last question. Mr. Asad, he asks, what is the future of work in arts? New roles and new skills?
I mean, I think that's a very philosophical question. I'm not sure I'm the best person to answer it, but I think, see, everything that we do is, I would take the difference between art and commercial creativity, right? So art is eventually about the soul. So all these things have been trained on generating certain kind of art, and most of the applications will be commercial creativity. So it's the difference between an artist and an advertising creative. An advertising creative is doing creativity in the service of selling a product, whereas art sells itself, right, or is appreciated for itself. So I don't think that's going away. And I mean, the machines can only be inspired by what's already been done, and art keeps coming up with new forms of art. So I think in that sense, we'll always lead the machine.
Great, great. Okay, so I think with that, we like to end the Q&A session. Thank you so much, all the participants. Thank you for your lovely questions. Thank you, Amresh, for answering them so, in so detailed manner. Thank you so much. I would like to invite Ms. Nikita Ristagi, Vice Chairperson of the IFCCI MarCom Committee and Regional Director, Sondagri India, to share her remarks about the MarCom Committee and about this session.
Thank you, Anuja. First of all, this session was really, really good. I mean, I always measure the success of a session with the buzzing chat window, and constantly my chat was ringing with compliments. So thank you, Amaresh, for this really fun, engaging session. I mean, you had some really good insights into the transformative role of AI in marketing. It's always been a debatable topic. I would say it's kind of as similar to pineapples on pizza. So, generative AI, of course, for me, coming from a creative industry myself, I always felt that it's not here to replace human creativity, but it's more to amplify it. So thank you once again, Mr. Amaresh. And of course, thank you to Anuja and Rishika for organizing this great session. I mean, this is one of the missions that we have at the MarCom Committee, which is, like exploring emerging trends, innovative technologies, and, creating events where people always go home with some very insightful knowledge. So we have more events coming up. So I would want you all to please stay tuned. And I really want to express my gratitude to everyone who joined this event. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. And I just want to take a moment to see if Payal is still there. Payal is our Director General.
Yeah, I'm
Payal,
still here. I'm still here, just popping in for a minute. Thank you so much, Amaresh, once again. I think this is a welcome change, from all the webinars that we do and our regular, I won't say boring, but our regular work on a daily basis. It was so engaging and extremely interesting. I think maybe there's clearly more to explore with you because I think we could go on for a full day on a topic like this. And maybe we could potentially look at the idea of doing something together in person. Of course, we can discuss, the terms with you, but we'd be happy to take this forward and keep in touch with you because I think there's so much more to explore. So thank you so much once again.
For sure. Happy to have that conversation. So
Thank you.
thanks, Payal, Nikita, thanks, Rishika, and thanks, Anuja, for bringing it all together. And
everyone.
Aisha, of course, for
And
supporting
thank you,
through it.
Aisha, also for putting all of this together.
And thanks to everyone who attended and spared the time. Thank you so much. It's great to see the comments and questions.
Yes.
Thank
you
so
everyone.
much.
Thank you, everyone. It's been a great session. I think everybody's got so many questions. This space is booming, so there'll always be more to talk about. Looking forward to connecting again. Thank you all. Thanks, Payal. Thanks,
Thank
Rishika.
you. Thanks, Aisha.
Thank you,
Bye.
Amaresh.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you, Nikita. Thanks. Bye. Bye.